Good afternoon and a very warm welcome from Wetzikon, the Set O Women's Tournament Curling Champions Tour event in Wetzikon. This is the first stones of the final of this tournament we're covering today. With me is Elmore, national coach of Switzerland, commentating this game with me, and I am Renata Heckler, and we will host this game for you. Hi, Al.
Hi. Good to be here.
Oh, lovely to have you.
It's good to be anywhere, actually.
But outside.
So these teams have had very little rest. Miriam Ott especially. They just came off the ice only just 20 minutes ago after an extra end win over Silvana Tirinzoni. Ott-Jäggi had a little bit more time. They disposed of Anna Sedorova of Russia, 7-4 with a big score of 3 in the seventh end. And so probably operating a lot on adrenaline for this game. I don't know whether they had opportunity to eat, but anything they ate probably isn't going to start to kick in until just after this game's over. So they'll have enough energy for the celebration after, if nothing else.
Well, either one of these teams, definitely.
So we're looking at two Swiss teams, two of our top three teams in the Swiss ranking. Swiss ranking system shows Miriam Ott currently leading with 175 points. Ott-Jäggi has 98 points. Sandwiched between them is Silvana Tirinzoni at 138. So this is Miriam's chance to widen her gap in the lead for points title, which has Olympic connotations attached to it. In world ranking, Miriam Ott is the highest ranked Swiss team. She's ranked 6th on the World Curling Tour Order of Merit. Ott-Jäggi's team is ranked 19th. Both have done extensive traveling in Canada in preparation for their year.
Yeah, there's the Europeans coming up next week. Miriam Ott will represent Switzerland there.
Yeah, Miriam will have an opportunity to gain even further points at the Europeans, although I don't think points is probably what she's really after. She's probably more after the title than gaining some points. So you'll see in this first end, the first stone went through the house. Ott-Jäggi does not have last rock, so she was trying to play in the house and keep it relatively clean. Miriam threw a rather long corner guard and trying to generate some offense. Michelle came back in the house. Now the game is who can make the hit and roll. Miriam's going to be trying to make a hit and roll to generate her 2 points, and Michelle's going to be trying to force Miriam to take one so she can have last rock in the second end.
So looking a bit forward again, we talked about the Europeans coming up. There's also the Swiss Championship coming up in January again. You think that is already in the mind of the players, or that is too far away for them?
I think it's in their minds, and certainly that's what all their preparations are leading up to. There's only one team going to the Europeans. That's Miriam's team, so that's her main focus now. But certainly all the other Swiss teams are focusing on an opportunity to represent Switzerland at the World Championships later this year in Latvia, in Riga. So these two teams will be definitely doing battle again during the Swiss Championships. And so this game is important in a psychological manner in that it sends a little message. The winner will be sending a little message to the loser about what to look forward to come the Swiss Championships.
We've had that just in the last game as well. Silvana Tirinzoni lost the semi-final in the extra end, as you mentioned. That's going to be something she will remember the next game and has to.
Every time you play a team and you can chalk up a victory and perhaps hold a little bit of an edge over them, it becomes a psychological advantage that your team can have. No matter how the games are won, if you can look back and say, we beat this team most of the time, the fact is that you feel positive and they might feel a little negative knowing that, we never beat this team. So there's a little bit of psychological warfare going on out there as well. Teams are just playing the stones up and down the ice here with that one rollout. It gave Michelle Yaki a chance to peel that corner guard, and now they're into up and down the ice. Miriam would be looking to blank, and I guess Michelle won't be unhappy with that, although she would like it if Miriam would stick on her last stone.
Still some stones to go till that decision happens.
Possible there's a slight advantage to Team Yaki in this game in that they just played on this very same sheet of ice. Miriam played on a different sheet of ice. And the reason for that is that the television equipment is set up for just one sheet of ice. We don't move it around, so Michelle had the advantage of playing her semifinal on the television sheet, and Miriam's going to have to learn this sheet that Michelle probably already has a pretty good handle on.
Exactly, and you commentated the last game as well. I don't know how it was there. I did the first game early in the morning today, and I remember that the ice was quite tricky at some point during the game. They struggled a bit to really get the curl right. How was that in the last game?
The last game, I think the ice was probably a little straighter. Most the teams were giving probably a little too much ice to start with. As I mentioned the last game, with only 2 games going out in a 6-sheet arena, there's a whole lot less body heat being generated, so the air temperature is cooler, the surface of the ice is a little bit cooler, and when that happens, usually the ice is a little bit straighter. So I think they found the ice a little bit straighter and had some difficulty, at least early in the game, getting behind guards. Third, Carmen Schaffer. Hitting now, be interesting whether Michelle hits that one or not. It is a usable stone, but she's probably going to ignore it and just draw the open side. Give her a chance to get her feel for draw weight.
Which also, especially in the beginning of the game, is an important factor and needs a lot of communication. Do you agree on that?
The first end is important just to basically get your feeling back. You've just come off perhaps an emotional win. You're maybe still a little bit jacked up about that, and you just want to sort of calm down, settle the nerves, and get into the flow of this new game. We talked about points. This particular tournament, the points available haven't yet been determined. However, it's based on the purse and also a multiplier, which is determined based on the strength of field. And I'm not privy to determining that, and I don't have the calculations in front of me, but I can tell you the total purse is 16,000, and the multiplier we're guessing is probably between 1.5 to 2. So there's probably about 24 to 30 points available to the winner of this tournament. And points are given to anybody who qualifies for the money round, so all 3 of the top teams will be gaining some more points in this tournament.
And as you said, these points already count for the selection for the Olympic Games in Sochi. How does that work?
There's a big explanation actually on the curl.ch website if you want to go there and take a look at it. It's a little complicated. Basically, if Miriam has the upper hand right now, she's got a fairly substantial lead over Silvana Tiranzoni, and she's going to increase that lead. And there becomes a point where if her lead is in points is so big, there may not even be a championship required. If she can establish a certain lead, and I'm not sure what that number is, then she may actually just be appointed as the team to represent Switzerland. So at the end of this year, the end of this curling season, end of March, the total points will be looked like, and that'll determine whether there's 1, 2, or 3 teams eligible to compete for the championship. Of course, if there's just one, if Miriam has gained enough points to be so far ahead, she would be appointed the Swiss representative. Otherwise, there would be a 2 or 3 team playoff for the representative at Sochi.
Which we, of course, all hope will happen.
It's always nice, I think, to have a championship play.
Well, that is still far away. We see Ott-Jäggi here drawing into the house and now giving a little bit of a challenge to Miriam Ott to
Miriam will be
actually blank this end.
Trying to blank this end. She wouldn't be totally unhappy if she did stick, but the goal is to blank the end. So she'll be throwing this one of her faster stones. Normally a draw takes approximately 14 stones to travel between the hog lines on a draw. This stone will probably be closer to the 8-second mark. Something I know Miriam's been working on is developing an ability to throw a little bit harder.
So you've been working with her on that. Did you also teach that bit of a positive handle?
Yeah, well, one of the things there's a number of ways to increase your speed and foot position and in the hack and how far back your sliding foot goes, how hard you push with your leg muscles, whether you kind of jump into the shot, and then also lowering of the body and an arm extension to help is another reason or another method of generating speed. And that particular one, actually, Miriam threw. I got my clock says 7.9 seconds. So
that's a good weight.
That's pretty fast. The top men will maybe fire them down there at something under 7 in the 6.5. Maybe even if you're a Jason Gunlison, you might get it down in the 6-second range. But the reason that the players like to throw it fast is it takes the ice reading out of play. A fast stone will go straight down the ice, and you don't have to worry about reading the ice. And that's really the prime reason that they throw it fast. So here we have lead Melanie Barbizot. She's the 2012 skip for the Swiss junior champs. I believe she still has another eligibility of junior, but she's foregoing that for the opportunity to play with Team Jäggi.
Yeah, that was actually a quite surprising decision for her to take that lead position from being skip in her junior squad, right?
Well, I guess she felt it was an opportunity to get an opportunity to play with a top-ranked team and maybe have a chance to go to some world championships. That if she waited a year, that opportunity might not have been there. They would have obviously had to fill the spot with someone else, and she might not have had that opportunity. So she chose the bird in the hand, I guess, if you will. So Janine Greiner, lead for Team Ott.
Exactly. While you are introducing the players here directly, maybe our technicians can give us the lineups in a quick sequence. Here we go. Melanie Barbizot, lead for Team Jäggi, 21 years old.
Idol Craig Saville, Team Howard, current world champions. I don't know if there's more than just an idol connection there, if they met somewhere.
Then we got second, Stephanie Jäggi, 28 years old. You got any meeting stories with Stephanie as well?
No, we've just worked on the ice a few times.
Okay. Marisa Winkelhausen, third for Team Jäggi, 24 years old.
See her idols, Roger Federer. I think a lot of Swiss athletes have Roger Federer as their idol.
Definitely, see that in the last game I commented. Michelle Jäggi, fourth and skip of this team, 25 years old, and they will probably have an internal battle when Roger plays against Rafa, right?
I'm sure there's a few pesos on the line when they play.
Anita Jäggi, the mother of the two Jäggi sisters, is their coach as well.
And they curl out of Bern.
And if you, I think we just lost the picture, but if you want to get more information, www.teamyaki.ch is the address to go to. And while we see Shannon Greiner live, this is her scorecard here. She's lead for Team Ott, 31 years old. Quite some successes already.
Yeah, it's nice to have those world champion on your profile. Those are never going away.
Carmen King, second for Team Ott. She's got them on her card as well, 34 years of age. And Carmen Schaeffer playing third and vice skip, 31 years old. And here she comes, famous Miriam Ott, 40 years old, working as a project manager.
And two-time Olympic silver medalist. I think she'd like another shot at that and see if she can maybe polish up to another color.
More information on this team, www.teamdavos.ch, if you're interested.
So they represent Davos.
A nice little village in the mountains. Lovely place to go skiing. You been there?
I haven't been there, actually.
So here we're back in the second end of this final of the Set O Women's Tournament in Wetzikon, near Zurich, about 30 kilometers outside Zurich in Switzerland.
So Miriam has a little bit of offense going here. They did get a stone in behind the corner guard, and they were attempting to guard it there with Carmen Kung's first shot. But it looks like that stone's over curled, and I believe the stone in the house is available. Michelle indicating, I think that signal is indicating approximately bumper weight, which is a stone that would travel to the bumper. So a soft takeout probably takes about 10.5 seconds to go between the hog lines. Just to give you some idea how that differs from a normal takeout weight, which is probably in the 9.5 second range.
So why is she playing that a bit lighter now then?
Playing a little bit lighter to have a little bit more control of the stone with the brushers. They've indicated hack. And she'd like to stick around, so well executed. Miriam has a decision to make now. She's got some options. She could try to draw behind the corner guard, which she's indicated. She could hit the back stone, and then we'd probably be in another blank situation. Or she could play a freeze on the back stone. She's going to go around the corner guard.
So that is quite an aggressive call, right? She's really going for the deuce at that end.
She's going hard for their two. I might try a freeze on the back one and hope that the other team has to throw a heater at it to kill all the rocks. Then I could go around the corner guard with Carmen Schaffer's first stone without the worry of another stone in the house.
Sweeper is far away from the stone. Always a bad sign for the weight.
A little bit heavy. And
doesn't
appears to be through.
So that now a big chance for Team Jäggi.
Now, Team Jäggi has some options. They could throw a guard on that stone at the back of the 8 foot, a close guard. They could. Here comes a rogue stone from another sheet. That's okay. We'll just kick that back. They're playing on the next sheet. The two losers of the semifinals are playing on the next sheet for third and fourth prize. There is a difference of 1,000 Swiss francs between third and fourth, so they're having a little game over there to determine who gets the extra 1,000. So Michelle could draw open and go hard for a force of 1, or she could be a little more aggressive and throw a guard, close guard in front of that stone, but she thinks it's probably too far back and Miriam could go around the guard anyway. Or she could go halfway around the corner guard herself. And so Miriam couldn't do that. So they're having a little discussion about which of those options to play.
Exactly, and we see here that this communications front end, back end, skip, this is going going quite open, right? This back and forth, what shall we play, what you want?
No, I think they just all want to make sure they're on the same page. They had a little meeting before the end about the amount of risk they want to take and what they're trying to accomplish. So sometimes they just need a reminder of what is the goal. So the goal for them would be to force Miriam to take a point. So they're going to draw to the open side and then try and exchange some takeouts and force Miriam to look at 2 stones when she throws her last one.
I think that one didn't curl as much as they expected it to.
They were hoping to get that one further over into the edge of the 8-footer into the 12-foot. So because it didn't curl, it gives Miriam an opportunity. As you see, she's indicating a little hit and roll in front of the yellow one to make it a little more difficult for Team Jäggi to remove. And third, Carmen Schaffer with her first stone.
That's a nice roll.
And a nice roll in front. So now Michelle will have to be careful about how she hits this one to make it go away, because if she hits it, she could hit it back onto that other blue stone and leave it in the rings, or hit it onto the yellow stone and leave it in the rings. There's two stones she's got to avoid
hitting
it. So she's talking about just throwing bumper weight. She'd like to save the shooter. So again, that's a soft takeout, probably about 10.5 seconds. If everybody gets their stopwatches out now and time this stone between the hog lines, you'll see it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10.5 seconds. Yeah, good hack, she says. Maybe 11 seconds. Yeah, put my little trusty stopwatch on this and see what it does.
Yeah, for those of you who want to imagine Al sitting next to me with his stopwatch ready, I think those teams will hear something when they don't throw the right way after the game. National coach watching.
Okay, I got 11.3 seconds.
And that's what you said. It's jamming on the blue one in the back.
So there was 2 stones that she had to try and maneuver, and I might have tried it myself just to actually play normal takeout, hit that on the nose and kill my own, or just spill it out and say, okay, this might be another blank end. But she took the risk on trying to sit 2, which she is sitting 2. However, she has left a stone in the house. And if Miriam can hit this stone about 3/4 on the center line side, she can roll over toward the other Jäggi stone without taking her own blue one on the side out of play. Just kind of like that. So they're very happy with that. So now Michelle Jäggi's going to have to try and make the roll back or the double. And if she rolls out, of course, it'll leave Miriam a chance for 2. Or if she hits it in the nose, Miriam will have a double for 2. So
she definitely wants to try to roll as far to the blue one as possible.
Yeah, she'd like to roll over the edge of the blue one. It's important that she stays sitting 2.
So while we're waiting for that stone to travel down there, quick reminder, if you have any questions or comments, our email address, life@curlingchampionstour.org, life@curlingchampionstour.org, and Al and I will be happy and try to answer all your questions. Michelle Jäggi in the hack discussing with her teammates about what the plan is and if the ice is good, the way she's indicated it.
So she's throwing this at what would be called normal weight.
That's what you said, that's the risk she had.
So she threw that at 9 seconds, basically, which is kind of a normal weight for takeouts. However, because she didn't roll far enough, now Miriam has a curler's double. And a curler's double is where you can hit about half to 2/3 of a stone. For whatever reason, curlers visualize that half stone very well. They like the half stone double. So this is hitting half a stone, half to 2/3 of a stone, and she'll make the double. And if she does make the double, the stones will be quite far apart, and it'll be very difficult for Michelle to remove both blue ones.
Her very special sliding technique. You don't see that very often in Switzerland, I think.
She jumped into that one a little bit. I think she was a little narrow. Carmen called the sweep right away, so she actually rolled the wrong direction. If she'd rolled that much the other direction, even though she didn't make the double, she would have kept it. The opportunity is still alive. Now, Michelle doesn't have to make the double anymore. She is sitting second shot, so she could hit this on the nose or hit and roll slightly toward the other blue one, and she'll have forced Miriam to score one. And if you weren't with us for the last game, you'll notice a little bit different lineup for Team Jäggi from traditional. They have sister Stephanie, the second, is acting as vice skip. And normally, or traditionally, perhaps not normally, traditionally, the third acts as vice skip. But perhaps the sisters have some ESP work in between them and they get along a little better in the house. Or perhaps Marissa is a better brusher than Stephanie is. So for whatever reason they've chosen, and they've done this since last year, that Stephanie is vice skip.
That one doesn't roll to the left, so
there's still an opportunity for a double takeout there for Miriam if she wants to try it. And again, this is the favorite half stone double.
Half stone angle, right?
And it will miss the blue one at the back. Now, she doesn't have to throw this hard, she just has to throw it accurately. She could actually make this double with board weight if she hits it in the right spot. So it's not a matter of how hard you throw it, it's accuracy in this particular one.
Which is in most of the cases a bit, weight is a bit overestimated by curlers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think sometimes when they see they've got to hit two rocks, they just throw it harder. And like I say, board weight on this, or barrier weight, as they say in Scotland, would be more than enough to make the double. If you hit half a stone, it will roll over there. The ice is fast, so the shooter will roll over there and without any problem at all. And there you go. Half rock, double, 2 points for Miriam.
2 points for Miriam Ott. We're after the third end. Score is 2 laugh after this, and we'll go into a quick commercial before we're back with the fourth end here. So Al was totally right when he just told me, or asked me, that was the second end, wasn't it? And he was totally right. We're now in the third end, first stone in the third end, played by Janine Greiner, lead of Team Ott in this final of the Set O Women's Tournament in Wetzikon, Switzerland.
So Team Ott now probably feels they have control of this game with a 2-0 lead. So they'll be trying to put their first stone into the house and keep all the play in the house and play mostly takeouts. So their goal, their target is the top of the 4-foot. This one's a little bit deep, but not too bad. It's full 4-foot. Michelle will ignore that. She's going to try and generate her own 2 points with a corner guard. A stone behind the tee line, of course, Michelle can use that later to freeze onto it and perhaps generate two. They would really like to have that stone in front of the tee line. Here's lead Melanie Barbazot.
So Melanie wants to make sure that she's in front of the house here, and that one seems to travel a bit further than that. Nearly to the 8 foot. That's definitely not what she...
Yeah, that's a big mistake. And the scores, if you're scoring that at home, that would be 0 points. When they ask for a guard, and there's that whole large white area in front of the house, which is 15 feet, which is about 3 meters, not quite, 5 meters in length.
5 meters, yep.
About 5 meters in length. If you miss that big white target, then you've taken the opportunity away from your team to generate offense. So even though that stone is in the house, scores would probably give her 0 for that.
Yeah, we see that now. There's already a lot of pressure on Team Jäggi with that. With those 2 stones in the house, they have to start hitting. Otherwise, they face the risk of running into more trouble here.
If this was later in the game, you might see them ignore those and still play a corner guard. However, being only just the third end, they're probably not in panic mode yet, so they're going to play the takeout and perhaps wait for a better opportunity. And nice comeback double by Melanie.
Exactly. She definitely came back here.
However,
from
with
0 to 100 is a 50% an average.
Yeah, 50% average for that end.
At least.
However, with the rule being free guard zone, that opponent stones can't be removed until the 4th stone comes to an end. A team with last stone only gets 1 chance to put up a guard. A team without last stone, of course, gets 2 chances to put up a guard. So if you miss that first chance to put your guard up, you don't get another one that your opposition can't deal with.
There was that 5 rock rule actually tried at events in Canada. What do you think of that? In fact, that's an interesting thing.
Well, I think what they're doing is they're trying to figure out ways, because teams, since the adoption of the free guard zone, teams become much more proficient, especially in men's play, of throwing double peels. They've thrown it harder and harder and harder, and are much more proficient with making double peels. So they thought, we need to get more rocks in play. I don't know whether it's necessary in the women's game. I'm not sure. I'd have to give it more thought in the men's game. I think the free guard zone came into being as a result of Pat Ryan's team back in the late 80s. Pat Ryan, Randy Furby, and Don McKenzie and Don Walchuk, I believe, were the 4 that used to regularly win games 2-1, 3-2 by just hitting everything in sight. And they were so proficient at hitting everything in sight that if they got a 1-point lead, that was good enough. 1-point lead with hammer. So they said, we can't let that happen. So one team basically dictated a new rule in curling. I think right now there's probably only 2 or 3 teams, Kevin Martin's being one of them, that can throw the double peels on a consistent basis. I'm not sure whether it's right to put new rules in to address one team's prowess. No.
Well, you're probably right with that. And talking about this free guard zone, leaving that yellow in play was not intended. This was not because of the free guard zone. They actually would have loved to remove it. So this gives Michelle Jäggi and Stephanie Jäggi playing here a chance to get behind that corner guard.
Yeah, Miriam's team tried to peel that guard out of play by taking it out and rolling their shooter out of play as well, but just ticked it over a bit. So it's still in play and still usable by Team Jäggi, and looks like they've done quite well, although it's not shot stone. So Miriam doesn't have to take it out. She can sit in front of it and still sit 2, which is what she's going to attempt to do with third Carmen Schaffer.
Aber bis hinten drauf. Ja. Wow, keine Linie. Schnell, 12. Fast backline.
So for those of you who may have seen Carmen in the past, you probably noticed she's got glasses this year. So danger for everybody. She sees the ice even better than she used to. And that spells trouble for everybody, although she's a little heavy on that stone.
It's good. We get all the insights of the national coach. You probably have to be careful not to give too much of an insight to the opponents who might be watching this at some point before the Europeans.
I can't tell them about delivery techniques or anything else, but I can tell them about glasses. I think that's safe.
That's the style consultant of the Swiss curling teams,
style consultant
Al Moore, giving advice on every kind of style, glasses or brushes or shoes. I don't know. What else is there? You always learn something new when you're commentating with Al. Carmen Schaffer with her second stone here.
Well, I see Carmen's wearing her vest still, so I'm guessing it's a little bit colder out there. So we're in the fourth end, and she still hasn't warmed up enough to take the vest off. So after missing her first shot, she's
that's a good roll.
Made a great shot in front. Although
it's open,
there is an opportunity for Michelle to roll another stone in behind the corner guard.
She would have loved to roll a bit further to the right from this perspective, right? Not quite there.
So it's just about 9:15 in the morning in Eastern Canada, and I'm sure you're up with your cup of coffee or I'm enjoying a caramel macchiato right now, courtesy of Martin, and he's brought some scones in here with some double cream, so that was really nice of him, and we're enjoying that as we're watching the game, and hope you are too.
I think someone forgot about that order. It's not yet executed it. Otherwise, you're in a different game than I am. But we see our technicians did not do all their homework.
So a little bit of a roll there by Team Jäggi. A little bit of a roll there by Team Jäggi. Got a partial cover, causing Miriam a little bit of problems, but she does have a chance to get a double and get out of this.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
I think it's about a 3/4 stone. She'll try and hit this one across the top of the other yellow one and get them both out of play. She's probably not throwing this at full normal weight. She's probably looking at about a 10-second takeout weight, which is a little bit slower than her usual, just to have a little more control. Anytime a guard comes into play, curlers will generally throw a little bit less weight.
She jumped into that a bit as well, so it's probably not that light. And it has to curl still.
Just misses the one in the back of the house, and the shooter's going to roll.
Now we don't see...
Very close. I think it stayed for shot. I think the blue one stayed for shot. So they're very close. Michelle will have a chance to about... She could freeze down to that stone, and then she'd have one behind the guard and one with a freeze.
Exactly.
However, the difficulty with a freeze is if she makes a perfect freeze and then Miriam was to tap it out, she'd be frozen back on that stone and could get out of the end. So I think Michelle's going to play a takeout and try and hit and stick right there. Does not have a lot of room for error, though. Has to be precise on this one if she's hoping to keep her opportunity for two alive.
She explained to her sweepers the exact same thing you said now.
She's not taking a lot of ice here, so she's reading that the ice is very straight. Brushers are on it right away.
Whirling a little bit,
And
but
a good job to the Brushers.
I think it's still in an area where it's can be considered a good shot.
That was a great shot. Now, I don't know whether or not if Miriam was to hit this yellow one and roll over on top of her blue one, whether she might be shot if she rolled on top of the blue one. And if that's the case, then it would be very difficult for Michelle to perhaps get it out if she would sit right on it. But I think she's just probably playing to hit it in the nose.
It's a difficult
and then maybe
roll to
hoping
be
for a mistake.
It's a difficult roll to be directly on the blue one, isn't it?
It is. And she's rolled too far. So Michelle has basically the whole house except for an inch or two to score. And she's going to draw toward those two blue stones, just in case perhaps she's a little heavy. You don't really want to have that in your mind. You really want to be focused on the precise weight to the tee line. The draw's underway. Sweepers just seem to be cleaning it. Looks like lots of weight, but I sort of two catchers at the back of the house.
Exactly. Looks a bit heavy, but should be okay. That sticks.
So she did use those line for the catchers. Scored her 2 points, has tied this game up after 3 ends. So we'll now head to the final, or the fourth end of the final of the Zeno Women's Classic.
Exactly. Heading into the fourth end, we'd like to remind you of our email address, live@curlingchampionstour.org, for all your questions. Or if you want to hear more about style consultant Al Moore and his ideas of glasses.
I'm surprised we haven't heard from Sandy, but I think probably he took my advice and went out on the porch with a bottle or a glass of wine and is probably enjoying the weather so much he forgot about the final being on.
Melanie Barbizar, lead for Team Jäggi with the first zone in the fourth end.
So they've switched hats. Team Jäggi is now going to be on defense, trying to hold Miriam to 1, throwing their first stone, trying to be tight to the rings, but it's gone a little too far, and it's half in the rings. Because it's only half in the rings, Miriam can now hit that on the nose, accomplish 2 things: remove it from play, and then have one of her stones really close to the house that Michelle Jäggi won't be able to take out because it won't be in. So as sweepers for Team Jäggi, one of the things you always try to do is judge that stone so either it's short or fully in the rings. You never want to leave it half, which is what they've just done. That really gives an advantage to the other team.
That one has to curl a bit more. And rolls into the rings as well.
she really didn't want that to roll in because now Michelle can take it out. If she'd hit that right in the nose, it would have just been a centimeter or so outside the rings, and a very useful stone that Michelle could not have taken out of play.
Yeah, that way Michelle's trying to get the roll to the middle, trying to take the game into the middle of the rings.
Also, a nose hit here would actually be a corner guard for Team Ott.
That seems to curl quite a lot.
A roll out there is better than hitting it on the nose. Hitting it on the nose would have left a corner guard for Miriam Ott. A roll out, no damage done really. So Miriam's going to put a corner guard up herself and try and perhaps get a mistake or half a mistake out of Ott-Jäggi and get her 2 points back.
Nice, zwei.
Of course, Miriam could have thrown up a corner guard on Janine's first one. If she really wanted the corner guard, she could have put it up there in the first one that couldn't have been removed, but she elected to try to play that hit on the close rock and get a guard that way. But there's always a risk, of course, of rolling in the house.
Exactly what you just said is that with the first win, she probably only played that takeout because she had the chance to do so. So we see that the first stone in an end can actually give pretty much the direction for the whole rest of it.
Yeah, quite often the lead stones, the first two stones at the end or the first stone at the end dictates the kind of play you're going to have. So Michelle's going to attempt to peel everything that Miriam puts into play, and Miriam's hoping that something sticks around that she can use.
Carmen King with that corner guard here. So we've seen that teams are sweeping or cleaning their stones quite consequently. We've seen a couple of picks in the first two draws. Some of them were definitely deciding the games. Do you talk to teams about these things as well?
We talk about equipment. Some of the things that stones, there's no brushes in the game anymore, so there's no brush hair out on the ice. People keep their shoes pretty clean, but what we're finding, they've done some sampling of the snow they take off the ice when they do scrapes, and they find up to 20% of it is fiber, and a lot of the fiber comes off old clothes. So if you don't change your curling pants that often, fiber actually comes off clothes onto the ice. Old brushes that have material for their pad wear down, and the fiber comes off the ice. And if a little piece of fiber, it's like a hair, they're almost invisible, stone runs over that and catches on the running surface, it can completely change the course direction of the stone. The other thing that, of course, happens that curlers, most competitive curlers are very careful about, is keeping warm body parts off the ice, hands and knees, because what happens is if they're left on the ice for more than a couple of seconds after a stone is delivered, you'll melt the pebble, leaving a flat spot on the ice, where again, if the stone hits the flat spot, the rough edge can grab that and cause the stone to stop, slow down quickly, or change direction.
So whenever you hear the ice technicians telling you that you should please not have your hands and knees on the ice, it's not only for their sake, they have to repair the stuff, it's also for your own play.
It's for your own benefit to keep the ice as playable as you can.
Back to this game here, Miriam Ott trying to roll behind that corner guard.
They did get a miss on a corner guard, and they have a corner guard to play, and Carmen Schoffer's going to try and hit the Jäggi stone and roll toward or behind that corner guard.
That did not really work out as planned, but also not too bad there in front of the rings.
No matter what Michelle's team does with this stone, and they have to hit it because it's in play, even if they hit and roll in, Miriam can ignore that and go around the corner guard on her next one.
What if she'd roll to the left behind the corner guard? Would she be in the house, and would that be of any use?
She might be in the house. I think the call was to roll the other direction.
Exactly, yeah.
But if they did roll to the side, I don't think they would be in the house. That direction.
Yep, that's what you...
Now this is an interesting spot. Most curlers will look at how do we get around this stone, but you could actually come around this stone from the outside in. It's always good if you can place corner guards to go around the stone from the outside in.
Yeah.
Miriam's a little nervous about leaving a stone in such a good position. It's close to the house. It's guarding a piece of the forefoot. And she's not in panic mode right now. She is tied up with last stones. She's not in panic mode, so she's going to just remove that and try and roll across to the other side. And maybe go around the corner guard with her own first one.
So Carmen Schoffer tries to roll here. And that was a well-executed stone.
Yep.
Good shot.
So if Michelle doesn't roll in the rings here, Miriam will have an opportunity to go behind the corner guard.
Either of the two, and she will probably use her own. So Michelle Jäggi definitely has to make sure that she rolls into the rings, if possible, even behind that corner guard.
Yeah, that might be better, because if she rolls halfway, Miriam could still use it and roll herself the other half and get buried. So there's a mini chance here for a two-ender. He's got a question from some Canadians who are traveling in Europe. B. Van Gessel. She said there's been lots of Swiss teams going to Canada this fall and winter, which is true. We've had 4 men's teams go over there, and there's one actually right there right now who finished runner-up last week in the DeKalb Super Spiel in Morris, Manitoba, Alex Attinger, and he's now in Madison, Wisconsin. I think he's qualified again. He was playing Pete Fenson this morning in the quarterfinals. And we've had teams go over in 4 or 5 weeks. He says, how come not more Canadian teams come to Europe? Good question. I guess one of the reasons is it's cost, and also there's lots of tournaments in Canada. There's at least 2 tournaments every week. So they go over there. But we have had some. Mark Dacey came over for the Spiel in the Swiss Cup in Basel earlier this year, and I believe he qualified and then finished in the quarterfinals.
I think so too, something like that. I think we played him.
I think Brad Gushu's come over a couple of times in the last few years. Jennifer Jones was over in the Bern Damen Spiel last year. I don't know if there's any Canadians coming over this year for that. But I think the more that come over and realize that they can get quality curling over here, and there's great tournaments, and maybe when you go home, you can spread the word. We'd love to have more of them come over and take some of that Canadian money out of their pockets.
Do you think that quality of the events here is not yet where it has to be to attract these Canadian teams, or is it really that they just have enough opportunities back home to
Well, I think it's twofold.
play?
I think there's lots of opportunities back home. It does cost more to come over. I know I brought a men's team over here about 10 years ago, basically on a holiday, and we played in the Basel Swiss Cup, and we actually played here in Wetzikon in the Manor Cup, and we had a great time, but we treated it as a holiday, won a little bit of money, and we told everybody how how great it was to come over and play and just to see different conditions and different ice rinks. And
because
certainly
also
if there's Canadians out there listening who would like the opportunity to come over, the hospitality is awesome. Your dollar goes not too badly here. It is a little more expensive than Canada, but right now the Swiss franc is pretty strong. But treat it like a holiday and come over and enjoy it and get in top-level curling games, high competition when you're over here. Thanks for the comment, B.
This takeout of Ott-Jäggi hits the sticks.
Miriam will be trying to blank this end. She's right now in the control position. She's tied up with Last Rock, which is the control position, so she doesn't mind blanking this end and taking that control position to the fifth end. And another comment here from Robert Haynes. Watching from Canada, I don't know what part, but maybe you can let us know. Just saying that he's enjoying some of the commentary. It's helpful for new curlers. I think it's helpful for all curlers. I'm amazed sometimes that without getting my foot too far down my throat.
I just wanted to mention that actually.
Even some competitive curlers could benefit. I won't name names, but even some competitive curlers could benefit
be
from
careful
some of the
what you say on air here. We don't want to put ourselves into any of these discussions, but you're definitely right. I think some curlers should be a bit more open-minded about ideas of experienced coaches, because that really helps you. Here we have the coach of Team Ott,
in the striped
Andreas
shirt.
Schwaller.
There is the national coach of Switzerland, Andy Schwaller.
And this is coach of Team Jäggi,
Anita Jäggi with her iPad, keeping all the stats up to date. And the followers, interested followers here in Wetzikon. Beautiful curling facility, 6 sheets of ice.
And it's always nice to actually see that these
south of Zurich a little bit, and a little bit
people,
to east.
Yeah, exactly. It's always nice to see that these people in Wetzikon really enjoy having that tournament here. There's always a nice crowd coming here for the finals.
Yeah, and it's come out in blizzard conditions today. I'm living in Bern, and I know I left this morning with just light rain, but I got 10 kilometers down the road, and I couldn't see more than 3 car lengths in front of the car. And as it's an hour and a half drive, I just turned around, drove home, and jumped on the train. Thank goodness for the great Swiss trains.
I have to say as well, there was some sun just before this game. You didn't see this? We're
down in the La Ola TV, I think they call this the dungeon. It's actually the ice maker's room in the Wetzikon Curling Club. It's full of all kinds of interesting stuff. I can't even begin to describe what most of the things in here are for.
But therefore, Al didn't see the sun, so I can tell you there was some sun around. That's typical Swiss weather, early December. There's some snow, some sun, and it's changing all the time. So that's definitely worth going into an ice rink and watch some
and
good curling.
Food service is awesome. Not that there's been any delivered to this location.
I just wanted to mention, did you have any lunch? I haven't. I missed that.
I'm working on overtime right now. So you'll see again, we're just playing a wide open end. Miriam's contented to play up and down. She's the one that's in control. She's saying, okay, Michelle, you have to make the move. I don't. I can take this lead right to the last end if I want and be tied up coming home. So
exactly, and we also saw that first stone again went over the tee line in the back of the ring, so that actually forced this game here with a lot of takeouts coming up now.
If Michelle wants to force this game, they're going to have to put the rock in front of the house so Miriam can't hit it. As I said, Miriam's quite content just to play this game and take her control position to the last end. Anyway, Robert, thanks for your comments. Let us know where you're sending us email from. We'd love to keep track of where everybody's watching us.
And if anyone else has questions, mainly to Al probably, because he's giving the interesting insights here. Al Moore, our national coach, live at curlingchampionstour.org. And if you're a competitive curler, you know that also you can learn something here.
Yeah, even I can learn something.
Even if it's only about glasses off the players.
Stephanie Jäggi throwing the takeout.
That's right. Go, go, go.
You have to sweep hard here.
It's not.
Talking of sweeping, that has improved during the last 10 years as well.
Well, the equipment has got a lot better sweeping. We used to have hair brushes. You'll see that Carmen Kung's actually throwing with a hairbrush. You see the hair on the end of her brush there. We used to actually sweep with that. But Andre Furland from Quebec, must be almost 20 years ago, invented a pad that swiveled that virtually all the teams use now. You'll see these two sweepers sweeping with a brush with a synthetic material pad on them. And over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been quite the advances in the pads. A couple of years ago, a company came out with what they call the equalizer, and they actually have changed the material of the pad, make it a little coarser, make it a little lighter, and have a reflective surface to reflect generated heat back down on the ice. The handles used to be wood. Now they're all carbon fiber. It's high-tech stuff, carbon fiber handles. They're very light and very easy to move back and forth. And recently the Norwegians have come out with what they call the Norway pad. And they said they believe it's more effective than the equalizer. It's a little bit different material, and it doesn't break the pebble down as much through the game so that the pebble is maintained during the game. They found that the equalizers tear the pebble off the ice too much so that by the end of the game, the ice is too flat. Kevin Martin's team actually tried the equalizers and rejected them. They're two strong horses they have sweeping, Ben Hebert and Mark Kennedy. They said they would basically rip the pebble right off the ice in two ends, and it would be basically unplayable in the middle. So they've just gone to the traditional material-covered brushes.
So they will probably try the Norway pad now.
They might try the Norway pad. I believe Glenn Howard's team uses the equalizer. So things are always, technology-wise, moving on and keeping up to date. So we've gone from wooden handles and horsehair brooms to carbon fiber and synthetic materials, and they're always doing tests on these to see how far they can drag stones. And right now, two good sweepers, with the ice conditions the way they are, the stones are better, the ice is better, the curlers are more physically fit. They can probably take a stone 1.5 to 2.5 meters.
Yeah, and also what we see now is, I think, sweeping is a lot more practiced by the teams. We see these sweepers here. They know how to hold the broom. They're really low. They try to put as much pressure on the broom and get the frequency.
Yeah. It's all about
grip
friction.
Really low.
It's all about friction, and friction is the weight over the brush head and the speed at which you move it. So the brushes will be trying to put as much weight on they can while still moving it quickly. Cappuccino. That's
Michel Jäggi trying to get a good stone into the middle of the rings.
See the body position of the sweepers. They got their head right over top of the brush head, leaning down on it. So curlers today, I would venture to say are, and maybe the older curlers will get mad at me for this, but I would say they spend more hours in the gyms, especially the front end, and are much more physically fit than they were even 10 to 15 years ago.
Oh, definitely. You can agree on that. If you look at the men's side and the women's side as well, if you look at these guys, Team Edin is a good example. You see these guys, they are on tour. When they're on tour, they go to the gym wherever they are. They have a hotel where they've got a gym. They really try to keep their fitness up, and when they don't have a game during the day, they definitely hit the gym at least once.
For all you people that maybe don't play a lot and want to see what kind of physical shape this requires, just take a brush and sweep a linoleum or a hardwood floor for 25 seconds as hard as you can go. Give yourself a 25-second rest and do it again. And then do that 6 times in a row.
Exactly.
And
then try
if
to
you
focus.
can do that without and still have some energy at the end, there's a whole lot of competitive teams that might be looking for your services. That's the kind of training that these teams do. So they go hard 25 seconds on, 25 seconds off. And I can guarantee your heart rate will be up near 200 pretty quickly. And then imagining doing that for 8 to 10 ends in a row and then 3 times a day.
Exactly. If you're unlucky, you even go through the C road of a triple knockout event and have 4 games a day, and you're not even close to a final. You're just about to qualify for a quarter-final then, the next day.
Yeah.
It gives a couple hours of rest, and then 8 o'clock in the next day, that starts again.
That's why we find that going to championship events like the Europeans or the World Championships, teams that can stay healthy and are fit generally will have the best chance. They may not be the best curlers in the world, but if they can stay healthy and fit, they certainly have a great chance of being there when the playoffs are on the weekend.
So here we go with an easy takeout.
And again,
well,
you'll see some stones
here
out of the corner on the side. There is a game going on the next sheet for those people that weren't here right at the beginning. The teams that lost the semifinals, that would be Team Sidorova of Russia, so you'll hear some Russian noise coming over, and Team Silvana Tiranzoni of Switzerland from Aro. They are playing for 3rd and 4th place. And the difference there, we'll talk about our game in a minute, they're playing for 2,000 or 1,000 Swiss francs. In our game here, this final, the winner will take home 6,000 Swiss francs, and the loser will take home 3,000 Swiss francs. And just for those Canadians that may not know, right now a Swiss franc is worth about $1.07 Canadian.
Yes, it's not really common to actually play on for the 3rd and 4th place, at least not here. In
quite
many
often,
cases.
the 3rd and 4th place, the losers of the semifinals are a little bit discouraged, and they quite often will just get a same prize money. So in this case, where they get 1,000 and 2,000. In many places, they have just the final game going on, and they would have got 1,500 each. And I think probably, unless it's a major event, most of the curlers probably would rather do that. They're a little disappointed in not being in the final. They're maybe not really too thrilled about playing for 1,000 Swiss francs, which is 250 Swiss francs each. And I know that won't buy you a new car, but it is kind of nice to have around Christmas time.
Definitely nice. At least you can cover a bit more of your expenses here. But you're definitely right. I think most players don't really look forward to play that when they just lost the semi-final. But that's the rules of the game here. And if they want to get the money, they play for it. And here we are after the 5th end with another blank.
So 5th end's been blanked. Miriam again is quite happy. She's going to the 6th end, tied up with last rock. It's really up to Ott-Jäggi to force this matter. If she doesn't want Miriam to blank the next 2 ends and be tied up coming home, it's really up to her to start putting some stones in play in front of the rings.
So what we
And
see
I'm
here,
pretty sure they'll do that.
sorry to interrupt you, Al. What we see here is the score of this third, fourth place game. Team Tirinsoni is behind 3 stones. It's 4-1 for Team Sidorova of Russia. Sorry about that. Team Sidorova of Russia leading 4-1 in that bronze medal game, so to say.
I've just had Martin Stucki's personal chef deliver a cappuccino to me. Thank you, chef. Beautiful design on top. I think the design is supposed to be a curling stone going in an intern direction.
Okay, here we've got a curling stone on the outer direction, ending up as a guard. I think your curling stone's gone now on your cappuccino.
It is now.
Miriam Ott now wants to draw behind that guard.
As I said, Michelle Yaki will be pushing the situation a little more here, and they've thrown that guard up in front of the house, and they said, look, we want some more stones in play. Let's force you to take one, or maybe we'll steal a point. But we can't have you blank on us and be tied up coming home. The current stats show that if you're tied up coming home with Last Rock, you'll win about 65% of your games. So Michelle knows that. So she says she doesn't want to be in the position of only having a 35% chance to win. So she's going to push the envelope a little bit more here.
That one is a nice soft peeling here, we see.
Janine's become very proficient at that. You're not allowed to take that stone out, but that doesn't say you can't move it around. So she's actually thrown backline weight, just hit a little piece of it, as you'll see, left it in play, and ended up with 2 corner guards. Miriam didn't want that stone swept in. She wanted to keep it as a corner guard. So she's got 2 corner guards, which is a strong position for her.
And now Michelle Yaki has to actually get a center guard there again.
The defense against the 2 corner guards is for Michelle Yaki to call another center guard and try and keep the play away from those 2 corner guards. So she'll try and throw a close center guard here and force Miriam to do that again. Miriam may choose to ignore this and go around one of those center guards, which is what she's going to do.
Exactly. She goes around the corner guard and tries to draw into the house to give herself a good position. She's got the last stone. She only has
that
to
cappuccino's good.
She only has to keep the center of the rings open here.
Yeah, Miriam's going to take a chance, leave that center guard, and ask Janine to go around the center guard, or the corner guard, and generate 2 points. A 2-point lead, a 2-point score here would give Miriam a stranglehold on this game, I would say.
That one curls well, and the weight is not too bad either. Looks good, strong sweepers of Team Davos.
If you were going to carry a stone down the ice, that's probably where you would have put it. It's in front of the tee line. It's dead behind the corner guard.
So Michelle Yaki now tries to freeze on that.
Yeah, freezing on rocks in front of the tee line is very difficult. She has to angle this in such a way that her rock's a little bit closer to the button. So there's probably only 1 or 2 centimeters that she could draw to from the whole length of the ice to be perfect.
But she actually has to do that, because otherwise she's this blue stone is a big threat to her. If she just leaves it there, she would probably face trouble if Miriam Ott draws to the other side, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, an option on this, at this level, an option on this is to raise that front yellow stone it's behind. Raise the front yellow stone right back onto the blue one and take it out. Now, you see, she was almost perfect on that. She was probably only 10 centimeters heavy.
And now you're in trouble.
But it's rolled off it, and now given Miriam opportunity to hit and roll behind another guard. So almost perfect ends up being an opportunity for the other team. As I say, freezing to a stone in front of the tee line is really, really difficult.
So Carmen Kung now tries to hit that Yellowstone and roll behind that guard. Curls a lot, sweepers have to go hard here and just touches quite a bit and actually removes that corner guard that where the blue stone is behind. So
got an
they
email
see
back from there's a replay. Just ticked the guard, opened everything up. That's not what the doctor called for. It lets Michelle Jäggi off the hook. We just got a note back from Robert Taines. He's watching from Peterborough, Ontario. Curls at the Lakefield Curling Club. He said he's using the Norway pad himself, and he said he had to get used to it because he was sweeping everything too far because it makes life so much easier for those of us getting a bit older. But he's put his age down here, and I think he's just a young guy from what I can see.
Well, it's all a matter of perspective, isn't it, Al?
It is a matter of perspective.
Here we've got a nice
from my perspective,
hit.
he's a young guy. So they have 30 curlers in the new Curlers League. That's great. Good luck to all those new curlers. I hope they become old curlers.
We'd love to have that many new curlers actually in any of these clubs here. Quite difficult to get new members here. And now Miriam Ott trying to remove both of these yellow stones here, hitting the outside stone first and then the second one inside.
That was a real good shot of the late release from Carmen Kung. A lot of curlers released that stone too early, and you'll see she held the angle of the handle until right at the end and then just made a quick small motion to put the release on it, which gives it good rotation.
That was really well executed shot.
Very well
here.
executed, double takeout and a rollover by the corner guard.
And now the centre guard comes in play again. Michelle Jäggi indicated to hit this blue stone and roll into the middle.
So Robert, good luck with your Norway pad and the 30 new curlers. Hope you continue. Hope you're really enjoying the sport. Good to hear from you.
Marisa Winkelhausen playing third. That one doesn't roll and probably will be removed by Miriam Ott soon. Miriam Ott wants to go behind the centre guard herself because she sees that if she does not do so, she might end up with a yellow stone behind the centre guard eventually. And this is, of course, not really what she wants to have when she's got the last stone in this end.
Weg. Nein. Weg. Ganz weg. Oh. Schnell. Okay.
So that clearing gives Michelle Jäggi now the chance to exactly do that and draw behind that centre guard. That's where she wants to sit.
And that will force the end for Miriam, that force him to 1.
Da 7 wird ja schon ein bisschen kommen. Da 2 ist einfach die obere Grenze.
This one should be in the front of the tee line. Sweeper is working hard to get it around the guard, and it's just on the tee line.
Yeah.
And Miriam Ott decided to play the race takeout here. A good option. Distance is probably about 3 meters probably. 2 to 3 meters. Nowadays, fairly easy. I think 10 years ago, teams would have struggled to play that race takeout.
Yep, teams practice this a lot now. They work at throwing the stone straight. They throw a little harder with a little more rotation and work it.
That's actually perfect, rolling outside there and keeping the center open.
And Miriam's going to have some chances to score too, no matter what Michelle does here. Miriam could freeze, she could go around the center guard, or she could hit and roll, depending on what Michelle does. But no matter what it is, Miriam will have an opportunity, if she chooses, to try and get two, or she can, again, play the blank one more time. Now we've had another question back from B. Van Gessel again, asking about highest events and which team has won the highest prize money. Well, speaking from the women's side, probably the highest event in Switzerland is probably the Basel Women's Masters.
I think it's the Women's Masters nowadays. We had an event in Küsnacht, which for 1 year was paying more than Basel, but I think since that event's not there anymore, not existent, Basel is the best paying event here. I don't know what it is, but it must be about
10,000 first prize.
Probably, yeah. I think 26,000 in total.
In total prize money. And just to give you an idea of the money list this year, number one on the money list is Rachel Holman from Ontario at $52,300.
That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive. She
Not
won
even
the
halfway
Grand
through.
Slam, and she won probably about 20,000 of that at the Grand Slam in Brantford a couple of weeks ago. Silvana Tiranzoni has won 19,000 this year. She's the highest earning Swiss team. Miriam Ott's won 9,300, and Michelle Jäggi has won 6,400. So the 6,000 on this particular game will certainly boost the earnings of these teams. Now, these teams have been successful in the past. Michelle Jäggi won an event in Canada in Kamloops last year. Silvana Tiranzoni won Red Deer last year. I don't think anybody's won an event this year, but they've been in the money in many events they've played in Canada. Probably the biggest event they were in was the Grand Slam in Brantford a few weeks ago. And I believe Silvana qualified for the prize money, but was knocked out of the quarterfinals. If memory serves.
Silvana on her trip in Canada made it to the semi-finals once and dropped out at the quarterfinals at another game.
Yep.
And Michelle Jäggi actually made it to the quarterfinals in. I'm not really sure where that was, but in one of the three
Swiss
events.
team, Manuela Siegrist, also made it to the quarterfinals in, I believe, Saskatoon, which is one of the top women's spiels. So there's been quite the successes this year in women's curling. As I said, we've got men's teams, one over there right now. Alex Attinger is qualified, came runner-up last week, and is in the quarterfinals against Pete Fenson this morning in Madison, Wisconsin. Some of the other men's teams that have gone over have qualified in events. I don't think anybody's reached the semi. Oh, sorry, that's not true. Peter de Cruz,
I
Team
just want to
Geneva.
mention that exactly.
They
Team
won.
Geneva.
They won the Spiel in Quebec, beating Brad Jacobs in the final. So yes, we've had some successes on the men's side as well.
These teams are really putting a lot of effort in their curling seasons, and also summer workouts, summer training. So they definitely look forward to go to Canada, get some experience there, and maybe win a couple of
I think
games.
the curling season in Switzerland is longer than anywhere else. I come over from Canada in July, mid-July, and the ice is already in and curlers are on the ice. I'm here from July through to May 1st and basically curling all the time. So I get to go home for 6 weeks, June and half of July, and then back again.
Not a lot of vacation. And here on the ice we saw just now, very well executed. Here we got the replay. Very well executed shot. tapping that blue in a bit to the back, but really nice sitting there now in the middle of the rings, giving Miriam Ott a bit of difficulties probably to remove it. And I think she decided to play a hit and roll, if I'm not mistaken here. It looks like she's trying to hit the blue on the left side to get an angle on the yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not really sure about that.
She certainly can't outdraw it. It's covering the pinhole, and there's one behind it, so she can't tap it back and score. The only way to get at it is to come at it from a different angle. So this will be probably a fast-throwing stone.
There you go, Miriam Ott's lost stone on this end.
He's trying what we call the in-off double. Doesn't look like it's curling enough.
That go through and leaves 1 point for
So
Team Jäggi.
It's going to be a steal of one. She threw that one at about, not as fast as I thought she would. She's about 9 seconds.
And still didn't curl enough.
So mini control switches over to Team Jäggi as they take a 3-2 lead after the sixth end. So with 2 ends to play, it's going to be up to Miriam to decide whether she wants to go hard to try and score 2 in the 7th end, or whether she wants to try and blank and be down 1 coming home with last end.
Exactly. So the 7th end is going to be all about the preparation for the 8th end and what you want to have as a beginning there or a start there. We've got Silvana Turinsoni being down 5 after 5 ends.
Just throwing her last stone there. I wonder if we can see the result of that stone. Looks like she hit and rolled out. And they're kicking some stones away in the corner there off to our left that we don't know exactly what happened.
Okay, we see it on our sheet actually. This is Marisa Winkelhausen. Melanie Barber. No, I was talking about Marisa Winkelhausen giving some advice to Melanie Barbaza, who played the first stones and who had a bit of a hard time here in the last couple ends. And that one is a bit too heavy as well. She tries to
That's not bad.
motivate.
It's right on the button. It's going to force Miriam to deal with that stone sometime. And right now we'll get an indication whether Miriam's going to try for 2 or blank. If she throws a corner guard, she's going to try for 2. If she hits it, she's going to try to blank.
That's what she's just discussing now.
So they're going to hit it.
So with that, she tries to actually take her last stone advantage, the hammer, into that last end.
Now she could have, an option on this call was not just a corner guard or a hit. She could have also played a freeze or a tap back, which would have been a little more aggressive play, which could have accomplished 2 things. It could have said, okay, if I freeze it, and then Melanie has to somehow get it out of there, then you play a corner guard on your next one. So you see Carmen, Schaffer, and Miriam are having a little discussion at the back about tactics for this end to make sure they're all on the same page about what they're trying to accomplish.
Exactly, they try to get some strategic choices made here, while Melanie Barbasa plays a nice draw into the top 4.
They're still having a discussion. I think Carmen wants to play the corner guard, but Miriam's overruled and says, no, let's hit. So I think they better get on the same page quickly.
Yeah, it was kind of unusual to have these discussions there. Did not expect that.
Normally a team will have a plan going into a game, and it's quite common to be within 1 point with 2 ends to play. This is not an unusual situation, and they will have a preferred being 1 up without or 1 down with hammer coming home. They'll have a preferred position that they like to be in, and they'll have decided that beforehand, depending on the ice conditions, about what they want to be. So as you say, it's unusual that they'd be having that discussion now, that they would have, after the last end, have confirmed what the plan was for this end, and there wouldn't be that kind of discussion.
It's interesting to see, and it also gives Jäggi's team a bit of a psychological advantage, maybe, if they really can put pressure on now and force the others to really play their best curling despite the discussions about strategy.
Yeah. It looks like Michelle's quite content for Miriam to blank the end, and she probably said her preferred position might be 1 up without last rock, and saying, okay, I'm prepared to let Miriam score 1 in the 8th end, and I'll win the game in the extra end. So she's not too worried about Miriam blanking.
Yeah, we see that a hit and stay called by Michelle Jäggi.
Jäggi's already won an extra end game today. She beat Andrea Schopp of Germany 5-4 in the quarterfinals with last rock and an extra end. So she's quite comfortable in that scenario. Miriam has also won an extra end game today. She won the semifinal, if you were with us, 6-5 in an extra end over Silvana Tiranzoni, but she did have last stone. And if this situation holds where she blanks this end and gets 1 coming home, she would not have last stone in an extra end.
What we see here is clearing in the center. I don't know, did they call for that? I probably missed that part.
No, they were trying to hit it on the nose.
That's what I thought as well.
Now, if Miriam really wanted to go for 2, she could draw over toward that Yellowstone that's just out of the rings, because even though it's out of the rings, she could be close enough to it where it'd make it hard to
remove the blue one.
But she's elected to draw to the open side with Carmen Kung's second shot, so she's, I think, basically decided that unless Team Jäggi completely misses a shot, that they're going to have an opportunity to blank.
So it's all going to be about either there is a mistake of Team Jäggi and there will be a chance for 2 for Miriam Ott, or we'll have a blank end and an interesting 8th then.
Even though this is seemingly wide open, it requires the same focus and concentration on every shot. If you let your guard up on what you consider to be an easy shot, you'll miss it, because after all, every shot contains only 3 elements, is what I try and tell the curlers. The elements are the line to the broom, the speed the stone's going, and the release at the end. And no matter what shot you're throwing, every shot has just those 3 things. So you have to focus on just those 3 things on every shot.
Well, you say just those 3 things. It's sometimes people, even good curlers, have difficulties with these 3 things only.
Yes, unfortunately the human brain is got room to have 47 thoughts at the same time, and sometimes they're all there when we're trying to throw a curling stone. And if we can somehow get to the point where we get in the hack and clear our mind and align our body, tell our brain to tell our leg how hard to push for the speed, and then release cleanly through the broom, we'll make a lot of shots.
That's the mental part of curling. I had a wise Canadian guy once telling me, you know, curling is 90% mental and 10% mental. And I was like, what the hell's that? But at sometimes I really think that guy was right.
Well, at this level, these players train so much technically that their ability to slide out on target with the right speed and put a good release on the stone is pretty equal. So what separates Jeff Stoughton from Glenn Howard on any given day, it's the mental focus and team togetherness. And those two actually will be going at it shortly in the Canada Cup to qualify for an Olympic trials berth in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan in the finals of the Canada Cup. In the women's side, Stephanie Lawton will be playing Caitlin Law's, Jennifer Jones' team, although Jennifer, just having given birth to a baby, isn't back yet, and Caitlin Law's is skipping that team. For those people in Canada, I believe that's on TSN. They have some pretty decent commentary over there, too.
Oh, you actually advertising for...
Giving my wife a plug.
What is going on after this game, of course. This game being the final of our covered event here. So there's enough curling still going on
now,
today.
Now, if Mary really wants to take a shot at 2 here, she might try and freeze that rock on the side. So we'll see if she's going to take a crack at it or whether she's going to just draw open.
They're just discussing this. And that's what you just mentioned, this team togetherness. I think Miriam Ott's team is a good example of how these teams are put together, and when they really work together, they start to communicate in a way that is quite unique, I think, and that has to evolve over maybe even a couple of years. And I think this team really is a good example at the women's side especially of how this communication can work. They're really open. If someone thinks this is wrong or there's something going wrong on the ice, they will talk about it.
I like Miriam's team because they smile a lot more than most of the teams I see, no matter what the situation is. And now, of course, you have on all these top teams all over the world, they work with sports psychologists and mental trainers, as well as technical coaches, and as well as nutritionists, and as well as physical trainers. They have their support group, which includes a lot of things. They'll usually have a specific physical training for each individual member of the team. They will have sports psychologists. There's another shot again of national coach Andy Schwaller,
yeah,
keeping track.
And coach of Team Jäggi.
And Team Jäggi smiling, thinking that, oh yeah, we're doing all right here. We're in a pretty good position. And sitting beside Andy Schwaller is Dominic Merki. He's with Team Geneva that I talked about earlier that won the event in Quebec, and he's watching girlfriend Melanie out there competing. I have to keep up with the love life over here, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I do understand that. And the viewers out there will see as well that our national coach is updated in every aspect of the curling life. The curling life in Switzerland. This is amazing. I didn't know that you know that many things about... I mean, you probably got all the little details here.
I know who most of the boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives are.
And also if they change.
I just keep as much of that information myself. Just got a note from Sandy, which I'll pass on to Martin. Sandy's complaining that somebody's stealing his electrons, and the video is still good, but his picture is buffering. I don't know, Martin, you can hit the non-buffering switch there.
I think this is something our guys cannot do.
It's that big red switch, I believe, on the left corner there, that non-buffering switch.
Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
So Martin said there's 2 possible results for that, Sandy. He said he was too lazy to go to clear the snow off the satellite dish upstairs. and it's probably got a lot of snow on it.
I have to interrupt you here
He said,
quickly.
secondly, you should, being a Scot, part with some of your money and go buy yourself faster connection service.
That's one thing,
spending all
Sandy.
your money on Scotch whiskey.
And as well, what we just saw here now, Miriam Ott sticking in the house. That was definitely not intended. She tried to peel that stone in the center of the house, and she sticked in the house, so that is 1 point for her. She's got to start this end, and that throws over all the plans she had. Doesn't really work out again.
I tell a lot of the women's teams here that sometimes the best force strategy is to just sit one in the house. Statistics I've kept over the last number of years indicate that women will successfully blank an end slightly more than 50% of the time, and the other time they will stick on it. And that's because they just don't quite throw the stone as fast as the men do. Men in the same situation with one stone in play will blank the end 85% of the time. But women are about a little bit better than 50%.
So with that introduction into statistics, we will go for a very quick break here in that eighth end and be right back with some more action and the final. And we're back in the eighth end of the final of the International Set O Women's Tournament. That's what it's called. Here in Wetzikon, Switzerland. With me is Al Moore, national coach of Switzerland and Canadian himself. And my name is Renato Hackler, and we'll bring this last end to you.
Well, Miriam threw the high guard there, and you'll see Melanie Barbizat has just made the perfect chip, taking that stone that can't be removed from play. Miriam trying to get it out of play so she can put it back. If she can get that rock to the line, she can put it back at as the center guard. But it was perfectly played by Melanie Barbizat, and she split that stone off. So Miriam will put one more guard up, and I believe Melanie will attempt one more time on the split. So they'll want this guard a little bit closer because they're not going to be trying to put up two guards anymore. So here comes Melanie again. Now she'll probably try to play backline weight with lots of rotation on this stone. And the reason for lots of rotation is it's easier for the skip to read because it goes straighter down the ice. And also once it makes contact, it spins off further away. You see she applied extra rotation on that stone. And how straight it's going down the ice.
Straight, and they have to sweep it a bit now. That one stays in rings.
Now she doesn't mind having that stone over in the side of the house. We call that, quote, kicker, unquote. And what that means is if Miriam's sitting one and it's partly covered for the last stone, she can just take it out, and that rock on the side will be the winning point.
So that's the result on sheet 6 here, or 5. 6-2 for Sidorova from Russia, winning the extra 1,000 Swiss francs over Team Tirinsoni, who probably had difficulties keeping up the motivation.
Yeah, motivation would be a big effort in that game. So there is a bit of a guard there, and options for Miriam Ott. She could try and throw a high center guard to guard the button, or she could go around this now. She's got a stone that's in the 4 foot, half guarded, And Michelle has to make a decision about whether she should hit that stone or peel the guard off. And she's probably going to give ice to make sure that this takeout makes some noise. She'd prefer that Stephanie hits the one in the house, but if she peeled the guard off, that's not the end of the world. But if this takeout was silent, that would be an advantage back to Miriam.
That hits the guard, but that's, as you said, not a bad thing. And
even though she hit the rock, she still saved the other yellow one. So now Miriam's going to guard that. And if things continue this way, Miriam will guard this a couple more times. And on her last stone, she'd probably try and draw top of the 4-foot so that Michelle would not be able to hit either stone and get shot. She'd be required to get a roll.
Michelle definitely has to try to get rid of that blue stone in the 4-foot. As you said, very important here. Otherwise,
Miriam will try and put a stone right in front of that. She doesn't want to put a center guard up because that would leave an angle for Michelle to take both stones out and roll the shooter away. So she wants to be right in front of that. So if Michelle does double them out, it'll probably mean that the shooter stays as a guard.
Stephanie Jäggi with that second stone. Is it the first stone of her? It's her second, right?
Yeah. This is her second. This will mark the halfway point of this last end, perhaps last end. Straight peel.
Just peel off the guard and don't even try to hit it straight, otherwise you'll, in the worst case, miss the second blue and stay there as a guard yourself. Definitely don't want to let that happen.
Miriam's going to try again, at least 2 more times to guard this. She called for zone 2, which is about halfway between the house, the top of the house and the hog line. A lot of these teams use zones. There's 3 zones in front of the house. Zone 1 is up near the hog line. Zone 3 is near the house, and zone 2 is the middle area.
That one is more in zone 3 now, I think.
Yeah, she called for zone 2, but this one's in zone 3, so it's a little bit close.
It didn't curl that much.
And then they continually use zone 4 would be the top of the 12-foot. Zone 7 is the tee line, and zone 10 is the back of the house. And you'll hear the sweepers yell out numbers to communicate where stones are going to stop. Marissa Winkelhausen with her first. Lots of rotation. See the extra rotation she puts on for her peels? Successfully made. And Miriam wants us a little higher up.
So we talked a lot about the effort these teams put in. When you practice with these teams, how much practice do you have?
I generally will, when I practice with teams, and I'm usually with different teams every day of the 7 top teams that we have, and then some juniors and some other teams I work with. But I generally will meet with the teams for 1.5 to 2 hours on any given session. And then, of course, I usually only meet with them once a week. And they spend a lot of other days on their own with their own coaches, trying to perfect some of those skills. So I only see these teams maybe once a week.
And now running for the Europeans, Miriam had more practices with the national coach here, or is that still the same?
I've been working individually with some of Miriam's team members, and they've also had some team sessions with Andy Schwaller. The men's team going to the Europeans. I have sessions with them tomorrow and Tuesday, and of course we leave Wednesday. So we'll have some more lengthy sessions in the next couple of days, although I've been on the ice with them a fair amount as well.
So this is more about getting the preparation ready, making sure
Yeah,
everyone's
this
confident.
is kind of last minute. We're not obviously making changes right now. It's just last minute fine tuning, if you will.
So you see these guys have a lot of practice and they really put a lot of effort in it. And probably as well when they arrive in Karlstad, they will have training sessions there.
We arrive Wednesday. We'll probably have a practice Thursday. Then the official team practices are on Friday, and we'll try and sort out stones as best we can then. And then the competition starts.
This is something special there. I think it's about semi-finals then, when you can pick the stones. Is that right?
We can choose the stones from any of the sheets, probably by the semi-finals. So we have to play with the stones that are on each sheet. And we're playing with the same stones that were used in last year's Europeans. They're called, I believe they're Set E. World Curling Federation Set E. That really doesn't tell us very much because we don't know whether the handles are on the same stones as they were last year, because when competition's over, they remove all the handles and store them away separately, and then they'll put the handles all back on the stones. And also what happens is stones can change because their running surface is actually quite delicate. Even though it's stone, it's quite delicate. It's subject to scratching and pitting. And so we have to really start from scratch every time we go. And that's what we spend the team session doing, is just running the stones up and down the ice and timing them and making sure they're all reacting, and seeing if we find any stones with a discrepancy, then we have to decide how we're going to manage those in the game situation.
So Ott-Jäggi here.
She's straight peeling the guard.
First stone, her second last stone, I should say. Trying to peel that guard.
Successfully done. So now Miriam is going to see if she can place this rock precisely. One of the drills that they do is called precision draw drill. So they're going to try and place this stone precisely, and she and Carmen are going to have a little discussion about exactly where they would like it to be. So they're saying, should we guard that stone and put the pressure on Michelle to outdraw it? And at this level, Michelle would probably be able to outdraw that 75% of the time. So do you want to take that chance, or do you want to try and precisely position the stone so that it's almost front of the button, in which case Michelle would have to outdraw a much more difficult stone or make a hit and roll of the side stone. So the question comes down to, how difficult is it to put one in the precise location from way down the ice? They would want one just biting the top of the white there. If it was just biting the top of the white, then Michelle could not hit it on the nose, and if she hit the side one on the nose, she wouldn't be shot. However, to actually place one there is a very difficult shot to be that precise. So they've decided, I believe, they're going to try and guard this stone but they want to be in the 8-foot, which Michelle will then have to make a decision whether she tries to double takeout or whether she tries to outdraw the stone in the 4-foot.
So in the end, it's all about what options do you leave to your opponent, and what do you think he's able to do, and what's giving him the most difficulty.
Yep. This is where you have to sort of analyze who you're playing. Do we want to leave them a takeout, or do we want to leave them a draw?
Ja, zoveel goed gespeeld. Ja. Het gevoel komen.
Nee.
Goed fussen.
Hè? Nee, is goed.
So that's down
So Miriam is playing
being
guard,
a guard to this blue.
and so she's
Down in
forcing
the middle.
Michelle to draw the forefoot. This is a shot that skips practice over and over. It's like golfers going out on the green and saying, okay, I need this putt to win the U.S. Open. Curlers practice, I need this draw to win the championship. And so they practice almost every training session. The final shot would be skip drawing the forefoot for the win.
Exactly, and you have to practice it that hard because it's always a bit different when you're out there playing that last stone in a competition. This is when
You
your
have to calm your
adrenaline's
nerves.
in, and
Get rid of the adrenaline. Just focus on the process. Michelle would have been thinking about this for the whole end. She would have expected that when it comes down to her last shot. When it comes down to her last shot, that she would have to draw the forefoot to win. So she's been mentally preparing for this shot the whole end.
and we will see whether that helps.
Two sweepers have
In a
jumped it a
couple of
little
moments.
bit.
Now it curls a lot. Sweepers are working on, right?
It's close. I think it looks pretty good.
Looks very good, actually. It's a bit. It's perfect.
Right
it's
on the
perfect.
lid. Congratulations, Team Jäggi. They've just won the Zeto Women's Championship with a 4-3 victory over Miriam Ott.
Gratuleren. Merci. Du ist gleich nicht sehr schnell gegangen.
Ja.
Hä?
Ja.
Ist das euch gleich?
Ich glaube, es gibt nicht noch grosse Rangverkündigung.
Weil ich bin jede Minute froh, ich sag's euch. Also was mich da alles noch erwartet. Ist es auch für dich okay, Miri?
So, Team Jäggi winning
Ja, ich
this
sag's ihm.
Set O
Wir
Women's
sehen den
Tournament
ja sehr gleich wieder. Hä?
with the last stone, and we'll have Michelle Jäggi in the interview in a couple seconds. So stay online, tuned in, and this means Michelle Jäggi having the 6,000 Swiss francs safe.
Habe ich es falsch aufgemacht?
Miriam
Nein,
Ott and
also
her
das-
team
sorry, Jenny,
taking the
das
3,000
Vorwurf
Swiss
gemacht.
francs home. Team of Sidorova from Russia on the third place. And while we're waiting here, I'd like to give you a quick heads up on the Bernese Ladies Cup of January 11th to 13th, where we will have the next live coverage of Lola1.tv. Bernese Ladies Cup, it's an international women's tournament, part of the Curling Champions Tour again, and we will cover that from the 11th to the 13th of January once again. So we would be happy if you joined us again in January. And now we will give way for Al Moore and his interview with Michelle Jäggi.
We're here with Michelle Jäggi, winner of the 2012 Zeto Championship. That game had a lot of ebbs and flows to it, back and forth. How did it go from your perspective?
Yeah, the same. We have high and up and downs, and we had a big shot in the sixth end. So I think that was the turning point, and from then we just played and looked how it will end up.
So you look very confident on the last shot, draw to the forefoot. I assume you practiced that a lot, and Weren't nervous at all? Just threw it right on the old pinhole.
Yes, of course, I was a little bit nervous for sure, but yeah, like you said, I practiced this a lot, and I have great sweepers, so I knew that I can be a little bit short, and we're still gonna make it. So yeah.
So how does this win against Miriam, one of the teams you have to beat now in the Swiss Championships, does that give you now a psychological advantage going into that championship?
No, I think every game starts from the beginning, from the new beginning. So it's another ice, then another tournament. So I think it was here, and sometimes she wins, sometimes we will win. So yeah.
Okay, great. Congratulations again, and good luck with the rest of your training. And go enjoy all that money, and don't forget to buy your coach a nice Christmas present with this money.
Yes, for sure. Thanks.
This was Al Moore interviewing Ott-Jäggi, winner of the Set O Women's Tournament in Wetzikon, Switzerland. And we would like to take this opportunity to say goodbye to you guys. Thanks for joining us. We hope you'll be with us again in January, 11th to 13th of January, Bernese Ladies Cup. My name is Renato Hechler. I commentated this game with Al Moore, our national coach in Switzerland. It was good to have you. Have a nice weekend, rest of the weekend, and join in January. Bye.